All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? How's it going? I am Is There No One Else? I play on Xbox, I play ESO, and I am bringing you guys the 4.2.3 patch notes. I'm not going to post the 4.2.2 patch notes because I tried to go through them twice last week. I read them, got angry both times, basically ranted, made a really long video that wasn't necessary, and frankly, my rants just aren't as good as Fang Rush's, so I'm not going to post B-grade content for you guys. I just disagree with a lot of the changes. I wanted to see more. We got more with these patch notes, so I'm going to kind of dive into both of them, the 4.2.2 ones, if they don't cover them, as well as the 4.2.3. So with that being said, let's dive into it. They did come out with a date for Murkmire, if I remember correctly. It's like the last week in October. I think it's like October 22nd or so for Xbox. So we got about 2 weeks until this becomes live. So hopefully they get all the major fixes coming. So I'm going to skip all this stuff. I'm just going to go to the PvP balance changes because those are the most important things. I don't think you guys are interested in knowing that they changed what color hair a rat has in Murkmire Prison, so or whatever it is. So, Maelstrom Marina changes, combat and abilities, Blade of Woe, Dragon Knight. Alright, made some improvements to certain knockback abilities such as Uppercut and Flame Touch to ensure they correctly knock enemy targets off ledges and walls. Okay. Fixed an issue where you could still attempt to cast abilities like Petrify or Rune Prison against enemies that were immune to crowd control from the Unstoppable ability or Unstoppable Potions. That is a much needed change. Thank you. I got triple CC'd quite a few times on Friday when I was playing. Like, it was just... I was out of stamina because I kept breaking CC so many times. Good. Conjured Ward and Annulment will now calculate their damage shield value, taking Battle Spirit into account before the shield is capped. This means in Cyrodiil, a player with 20k health will have a shield cap of 8k instead of 4k. So, I said this in last week's video that I did not post, but a 4k damage shield is way too little. Like, if it was going to apply to Battle Spirit, that was going to be bullshit. 20k health, you know, having it be an 8k shield, I think that makes a lot of sense. My current Magic-Asork, I think my wards are around 9,500 after Battle Spirit. So this does nerf them a little bit. They now can be crit, but they're now also affected by resistances. So for me, for my specific build, since I wear Divines, it's a pretty big nerf. I'm going to have to adjust my Sork build. That's why I haven't come out with a Sork build this patch, because they came out with these changes, and I'm just waiting to see what the final result will be before I decide to theory craft a new build. I think this change makes a lot of sense. I think it puts it a lot more in line. It makes shields weaker. I mean, I think a lot of us can agree that Sork shields were very powerful. You could be in light armor and you could be one of the tankiest people on the battlefield. Now you have, they brought back the increased damage, so your proc frags are 20% now. So you're going to hit a little bit harder, but your shields are a little weaker. You're a little bit more on the squishy side. You'll have to be careful on the back bar. I do think this makes a lot of sense. So... we'll have to see how this plays out, but I think this is a lot closer to what they want to have happen. And this might need to get tweaked a little bit more. We have 2 weeks, but this is a much better change from what it was when they first came out, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna have a cast time for wards, and Sorks, go fuck yourself. So I like this, and my cat's talking to me, so we might have some secondary commentary here. Yep, I know. Come here. Earth and Heart, Petrify. Shattering Rocks updated the tooltips of this morph to indicate it deals damage. Alright. Sorcerer, Dark Magic, Negate Magic. Fixed an issue where this ability and its morphs were not applying their stun to monsters correctly. Okay. Daedric Summoning, Conjured Ward. Hardened Ward morph. This morph now also increases the shield cap to 50% of your max health, previously 40%, and now also gives the 20% shield value bonus to your pets as well. Wow. So this is pretty big for Sorks. I mean, so if you have 20k health in PvP, you have a 10k damage shield. It can be crit and all that. So the math probably comes out as it's still a nerf to what it currently is. But Yeah, that's pretty substantial. It's going to be interesting to see like if more well-rounded sets ended up if more well-rounded sets end up making themselves onto Sork builds now. You know, as an example, like one of the sets I'm thinking about off the top of my head is like Trainee. Trainee, you get health, magicka, stamina, and then the 5-piece is health, magic, and stamina. Well, since your bonus now applies to it's 50% of your max health, maybe it behooves you to run a set like Trainee with a set like Seducer or Lich on the back bar or whatever to get that bigger health pool so that you have bigger wards and you're not missing as much damage. Because you still get 2,400 magic off of the Trainee set, which is, it's not as good as like Shackle Break or something else like that, but maybe the extra defenses, increased stamina, maybe all that adds up to it. It's interesting. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to turn out, but that's a very interesting change. Adric Spear, Focus Charge. Toppling Charge Morph. Fix an issue where this morph was not stunning the enemy target after you interrupted them. Perfect. Annulment, Dampen Magic. This morph now also increases the shield cap to 50% of your max health, previously 40%. This is a fantastic change. I like this a lot. Currently, you know, they talk a lot about balancing and trying to find, you know, to where you choose an either or for a specific skill. And so they want you to, you know, if you choose this, you get this bonus, but if you choose this, you get this bonus. Currently, for like the last 2 years, maybe 3 years, like since I've been playing, the best choice has always been Harness Magicka. It hasn't been close. Harness Magicka is way better than Dampen Magicka because of the resource return. And the resource return is probably still better than having a 10% larger shield. Or going from 40 to 50%. It's probably still better, but this is the type of change that needed to happen so that at least if somebody wants a bigger ward, they have the choice. If they want the return but be slightly squishier, they have that with Harness. I think this is a step in the right direction. So I actually like this quite a bit. Medium Armor, Evasion. Reduce the cost of this ability and its morphs by 15%. Okay. There's not much to say about that. Heavy Armor, Immovable. Reduce the cost of this ability and its morphs by 15% and reduce the duration of the crowd control immunity buff granted to 4 seconds from 5 seconds. This skill just isn't used a whole lot. And so tweaking it in this way by reducing the cost and then reducing the immunity buff just doesn't seem to mean a whole lot to me. Unless they're also adjusting immovable pots and stuff like that. Like this just seems like it's part of a greater plan. So I guess let's just keep reading on. Item sets. Arms of Reliquin. Fix an issue where the damage over time effect from this item set could proc other abilities and item sets that trigger on melee damage. Okay. Balorg. Fix an issue where this item set was not working with certain ultimate abilities. Mantle of Sororia. Fixed an issue where weapon swapping out of this item set's 5-piece bonus was causing you to lose the spell damage bonus. Alright. Merciless Charge. Fixed an issue where the damage over time effect from this item set could critically strike. Okay. Because I thought, yeah, so the damage over time aspect, not the actual, okay. The damage done from this Razor Shot, the damage done from this item set will now ignore mitigation, and it has been changed to Virulent Shot. So Razor Shot is the new bow in the new prison. And so if I remember correctly, we're going to have to look this up later, but this is crazy. It will now ignore mitigation. I'm not going to lie, guys. The new prison, I had no interest in doing. The gear sucks, or it sucked. When it first came out, the gear was just terrible. It was not worth running to get. But last patch, they changed the two-handed, the 4.2.2 patch notes. The new two-hander, the Dizzying Swing, applies 100% damage to one other person, which in my opinion is way better than 50% to 2 because of the burst potential. So if you're 1vxing, you know, I like the aspect of potentially applying that much damage to 2 people. And the best part about it is, you know, let's say me and 5 of my buddies are 1vxing you, right? And, we're zerging you down hard, and you go to dizzying swing me. Well, I'm going to block it because I'm going to see it coming. So that dizzy doesn't work, so you're going to focus somebody else. You're going to focus the guy that I'm playing with that's only been playing for like a week, right? He doesn't know any better. So we all see you wind up and hit him with dizzying swing. And so now he takes the full 10k damage. You just like took half his health with one dizzy. Now on top of that, your dizzy hits for 10k or hits for the same amount of damage as somebody else. Obviously it depends on the resistances and all that, but they're not going to block because it's not hitting them. And so you have that splash potential to potentially just wreck two people at the same time. And, dizzying swing has the issue where it has a cast time. It's really tough to hit. Some players are really good at blocking or walking through it. And so 1vxing with dizzying swing sometimes can be very difficult. And the 2H made it, that 100% damage bonus made it a lot better and made it worth going to get. And I say all that now because I don't know how good this will be, but ignoring mitigation is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So we'll have to see. We'll have to test this now because this might be another weapon worth getting. So that was my long-winded rant. My bad. Soldier Vanquish. This item set's 5-piece bonus has been redesigned. When you deal damage with a melee attack, you have a 20. This is the old one. You have a 25% chance to traumatize your enemy. This is the healed negate one. It was way overpowered, ridiculous. So the new way is your melee light attacks have a 25% chance to place a ring on the ground that explodes after 1.25 seconds, applying 4,800 health absorption to all enemies hit for 4 seconds, negating the next 4,800 points of healing done. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. I like this. I like this change. The original change was, the original set was too strong. Like being able to have a 25% chance to just every 4 seconds negate this much healing is nasty, especially when you start applying it to, like a Stamplar. Stamplar, every single biting jab counts as a chance to proc this, and so you could basically have close to 100% uptime with specific builds with this old set. And so they increased the cooldown 6 seconds instead of 4, which is good. But now it's a ring, and it's going to depend on how big the ring is. But this could very well be a nice group play build, or a group play thing. So you can probably coincide it, depending on the size of the ring, depending on, how easy it is. But 1.25 seconds isn't a ton of time. You could see this proc and then slap your Dawnbreaker. And potentially, that's tough for people to recover from. Like, they're not going to be able to CC break and then get out of the ring. And now they're hit with all this burst damage, and their initial heal isn't going to work. And so you have a really strong chance to take them down. This could be really good in small group play. Don't sleep on this set. It got adjusted, but in some ways this might be a little bit stronger. But there are counters. So, and my buddy's back. So, yeah, come here, buddy. God. Stinging Slashes. Reduce the bonus granted to each tick of Twin Slashes to 1350 extra damage from 1500. All right. Winterborn. Fix an issue where the snare effect from this item set was bypassing snare immunity. Good. All right. Just come say hi. Yeah, indeed. All right. Is that it? I think that's it. Oh, sorry. Reduce the duration of Major Expedition granted for potions to be more in line with other powerful major buffs such as Major Vitality. For a potion at maximum rank, this reduces the duration of Major Expedition from 40 seconds to 12.5 seconds before any modifications from things such as enchantments or passives. All right. So this is going to be like my last long-winded rant because I don't like these changes at all. Because they did the same thing. They did the same thing in the last week's patch notes. And, when they talked to the devs, when I posted that video, I'm going to start there. Testers talked to the devs, and the devs made it clear that they wanted to nerf speed. And so they were talking about how they want to nerf the overall speed because people are moving around way too fast. They're hard to target, yada, yada, yada. And so what they claim is because people are moving too fast, it's tough for the game to catch up. So a lot of the people testing the game correctly said, hey, don't nerf the major expedition buffs. Maybe nerf. Don't nerf the major expedition buffs. Nerf the top end speed. So reduce the cap of how fast people can go. And so people still get their major expedition, but, they don't get to fly around like madmen. So there's a lot of ways to get buffs. There's a lot of ways to get to the cap. And so they did a bunch of nerfing this last week's patch notes. They buffed the Steed Mundustone to 10% from 5%. They nerfed the Swift Trade Jewelry, 10% max speed down to 6. They then nerfed Fiery Grip, the speed buff from it from 6 seconds to 4 seconds. They nerfed the bow. You get major expedition when you dodge roll. I think they nerfed it from 5 seconds instead of 4 seconds instead of 5. Boundless Storm was 7.5 and is now 4 instead of 7.5. Falcon Swiftness, major expedition for Wardens is now 4 seconds instead of 10. 4 instead of 5, I was right. Dual wield is now 4 instead of 5. So they basically went after major expedition. They went after the major expedition buff for everybody. And I just don't know if I agree with this. I mean, the 4 seconds instead of 5 seconds isn't a big deal. This one, Falcon Swiftness, you could say probably needed to get adjusted a little bit because it was just too easy to be really fast, really tanky, and hit really hard on a Warden. So that's like the first nerf for Wardens, for stamina Wardens in the history of Wardens. So I felt like that was a much needed change. But overall, I didn't see the need to nerf Major Expedition. I understand how they want to slow people down, but they did all of this, and then they did, on top of that, they reduced the duration of the snare immunity from 8 seconds to 4 seconds on forward momentum. And so the problem I have is, this is the same problem, this is the same rant I had about Magicosaurus. You want to nerf shields, and so all of a sudden you attack shield wards from 2 to 3 different angles, and you already nerfed it one way, but then you go after it another way, and then you go after it another way. And all of a sudden you're just left with so many variables. Maybe the first change was enough, and we just don't know. I feel like incremental changes were a thing that were happening for a while that most people agreed with. And then all of a sudden, this patch, they just want to speed up the process. And maybe it's because they feel pressured that they haven't done enough in the last year. Like, balance changes haven't been addressed all year, and they want to be like, you know what, guys? We understand what you're talking about, balance changes. Here are all of our balance changes. We're going to balance everything really quickly so you guys don't bitch to us for another year, and then we'll come out with balance changes next year. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe they're just trying to, sweep everything and just get it done with. But the problem with this is you're nerfing the top end speed, and then you're slowing people down. And so if you're going to nerf the top end speed and you're going to get rid of the duration of the major expedition buff, that's fine, but don't then slow people down and allow them to be snared. I think the entire community will agree with me. This game is at its best when it's a fast-paced, fun environment where you're using a bunch of skills and you're able to, the game is able to interact with you. And you're able to just do things quickly. Fast rotations in PvE are better than heavy attack rotations because they're more fun. The same thing applies to PvP. It is a lot more fun to just pop a skill, have buffs, have some durations, and then go and actually do the fighting and healing. The problem with forward momentum now is it's a cheap skill, but now you're just going to spend so much time removing snares off of you. Nobody wants to be snared. That's the problem with this. If you want to nerf the top end speed, fine, but get rid of the fucking snares. Nobody is like, hey, you know what we need is literally every class, every single skill line in the game needs to have some sort of snare. And then they need to be able to stack on top of each other. And then ultimates need to have snares. And then this needs to have snares. We just got to slow everybody down to where they're just literally crawling, unable to do anything. And then we're going to either give them a skill like Purge that literally nobody can use unless they have 7,000 Magicka recovery to eliminate 2 things, one of which might be a snare that can be reapplied right away. Or we'll put everybody in medium armor so that they can wear Shuffle so that they can get snare immunity that way. Or they'll just spam fucking forward momentum every 4 seconds and they just won't be able to attack anybody. You know, I'm obviously being exaggerating a little bit with forward momentum, but it's just bullshit. Like, I don't even use this skill, but this entire thought process of having to snare people and then slow them down on the other end, it just lends itself to Zerg gameplay. Nobody likes to be run down, snared to shit, and then fucking killed. It sucks. It is the worst part about this game. And so people started going, you know what? If I'm going to get Zerg down, I'm going to make them chase me. I'm going to put some speed into my build. Okay, well, maybe that's a little too strong. Maybe we should nerf the top end speed, but give other people this stuff. The only reason I'm bringing this up is that coincides with this. And so now, instead of having Major Expedition for 40 seconds, you now have it for 12 and a half. Is anybody going to use this pot anymore? Like, I'm asking people that are going to watch this video, are you even going to consider using immovable speed pots anymore? Knowing that you only have speed pots for 12 and a half seconds? I don't think I am, you know? There's a big difference between Major Expedition and Major Vitality. You know, Major Vitality stacked too well with, once again, this is another issue that was the problem with the game at the time, but they had reduced cost in the CP tree. And so with the reduced cost, you could just make perma-block builds that you couldn't break block with some classes. And so they could just block forever, and then they could have, they could get their major buff for healing, and then they could get Major Vitality with Major Vitality pots for the entire time. So then you all of a sudden had these 2 buffs stacked with the ability to hold block forever. Like, people just could not die. And so then they went after Vitality pots. Then they went after reduced block cost. And then they went after reduced cost. And they did all these things. And now it's not as strong anymore. So we're now in a better area. But I don't see how speed is as big of an issue as healing received. I just don't think it's the same thing. Especially just the Major Expedition buff. And the thing is, you know, did they nerf the duration for the Assault skill line one? The one where it rapids? Did they nerf rapid maneuvers? No. So groups can just have one person be their buff bitch and run rapid maneuvers over and over and over again, and everybody there gets Major Expedition. But if you use immovable speed pots, or if you dodge roll, or if you use a class skill line to be fast, it doesn't work the same way. I just disagree with that. Like, I'm sorry, ZeniMax, but if you are going to do this, then you have to get rid of rapid maneuvers. You have to have it apply to that person and one other person or something like that. You know, increase the incentive for Zergs to be fast. You know, because if Major Expedition really is an issue, you should go after the people that are using Major Expedition the most, which is the large scale groups that are running around. Not the 5 people that have the cojones to go into, you know, one of the bigger campaigns and run around by themselves. You know, if you're going to nerf it for some people, you got to nerf it for everybody. I don't agree with it at all, but like that's the one that needs to be brought up is rapid maneuvers. So this end part is why I didn't post the 4.2.2 patch notes. Hope you guys understand, but I covered it a little bit. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.